And
We
the
are
recording has started.
recording. This is very exciting. This is very exciting. So, I want to welcome you all to Conversations with God. My name is Uranus, aka Esther, and my sister in Christ. Go ahead and introduce yourself.
Hey y'all, you can call me Sankey, aka Pearl.
And we are very excited to be embarking on this new journey. We have been led to start this channel, and it's going to be called Conversations with God. And our heart behind Conversations with God is to, have people fall in love again with the Bible, including ourselves. Also, being a storyteller, like the Bible is not just something that you read and just like it's not like a blog type of thing. It's a conversation. These were real people that went through real situations that God, put them through, tested them, and people that, their faith was tested and the whole 9 yards. So yeah, that's what we're gonna be doing. So Sanki, you wanna join in and say anything else? What are you excited about?
Yeah. Um, First of all, I'm sorry if for any background noise. Um, but yeah, I'm just excited to be on here. It's just I think a very real conversation with my friend, partner in crime in this area. Um, I've always loved stories. I mean, stories have, had that fascination for me. I think it's like going on a whole new adventure.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and I think it just brings the Bible to life. It makes it real,
It does. It
like
does.
you said. So that's what captivates me.
Yeah. What are you most excited about to see, like God move in this new season in our lives? Because we're starting something new. I feel like we've both been called to not only to minister, but we have so many beautiful gifts, and we have the same heart about a lot of things that we like that God has just put in us since we were like young. So what are like you most excited about? Like what do you envision right now for like conversations with God?
Yeah, for I think for me personally, it's about exploring the Bible more for myself.
Me too, yeah.
You know, um, I think it's made such a big difference in my life, and it's also kind of solidified our friendship.
Yeah, it
Brought
has.
us closer because conversations are so important. And these days, there's a lot of social media, a lot of platforms, but are people really having those heartfelt conversations?
Yeah.
Are they connecting with their friends or, people around them, um, like they really should?
Yeah.
Because I think all of us want that, at a deeper level. So that's what I'm looking to understand better
Yeah.
and just enjoy the whole process.
Yeah, I agree with you 100%. As for me, um like me very well. So me and Saki for the past, I would say what, like 6 months, maybe a little less. So
Yeah.
we've been talking. So Pearl is in India, for
Mm-hmm.
those of you. So we're gonna introduce ourselves and we're gonna talk a little bit more about our story. But she's in India and I'm in New York, and we met here in New York at a church in the financial district here in my city. Um, and for the past, I would say roughly 6 months, we have been talking every Sunday at 11 a.m. my time, which is what, 9 your time, 8, 9 your time.
About that time,
Yeah.
yes.
So we've been like real consistent about just just getting to know each other, growing in our sister in Christ friendship, and just fellowshipping and just confiding in each other, praying for each other. So like she knows me already like enough to like she gets my jokes and stuff like that, and vice versa. So one of the things that I really love and she loves as well is we get to really like put ourselves in the shoes of the people in the Bible. Sometimes when we read the Bible, we forget that, like I said before, like these people were people like you and me, that they had feelings, that had emotions, that you think about like what were they thinking, like, what were they doing? I know that we were talking about a couple weeks ago about like Abraham, and when, he was asked to sacrifice his son Isaac, and we were talking about like what was his thought process, like what was he thinking, like I'm pretty sure he didn't tell Sarah that God told him to do that, right? Because that would have been a problem. So we were just having these conversations like that. I think it's so important to humanize these people because they were real people. I mean, they went through challenges like just like we do. They had to wait, and Pearl and I can tell you that we've been in
I
patiently
know.
waiting for a lot of things.
Hmm.
Um, so yeah, so that's what conversations with God is gonna be about. Just how we just storytelling and how we see people in the Bible and comparing that to our lives and things that are going on in the world. And there's going to be topics that we're going to talk about that are going to be very uncomfortable. There's going to be topics that people are not going to like, and that's fine. I think that we can agree to disagree and we can respect each other and we can still, love each other even though we don't agree with things. So, with that being said, Miss Pearl, I think that you should start us off in talking about your journey with Christ and how that all started. Because I've never heard of, believe it or not, even though we've known each other for a bit, and we talk every Sunday. I don't know your story as to how you came to Christ. So I'm excited for that.
That is, yeah, that is pretty cool. And I think this is the good thing about friendship in general. There are like all these layers of an onion getting peeled,
Yeah.
and then
No crying though. No crying.
and I might.
Yeah,
So
yeah, yeah, yeah.
because this is a very real show, right?
Yeah, it
Just like
is. It
the
is.
real people that we are talking about. Um, but but yeah, I love that this is also a story, right? Each of us has a story, and that's what makes it beautiful.
Yeah.
Um, I think for me personally, my journey probably started since the time I was born, I guess.
Okay.
I was a very curious child, and I had a lot of questions about the purpose of my life. I don't know, I was just obsessed with it, and I tried to find out. I had a lot of questions. I was like maybe that annoying kid with a lot of questions, right? Uh,
But why? But why?
I know, why is this? And so I would say that in India it can get quite challenging with all all the pressure to perform. um, if you look at students, they work so hard. um, so there's a lot of competition out here, and that kind of started to get to me. And I was working hard, but I didn't know why I was doing this.
Right, right.
um, and so many times when you don't have a vision, that's when you get stressed out more. That's when you struggle to figure out what you're doing. So I was in this journey, and I would say it's many small things which came together. But I had a neighbor who was Christian, and there was a Christian magazine that was in her house, talking about Jesus and miracles which were happening like even today, right? So I was amazed. to be honest, I thought those were just stories before, right? I didn't realize that they were real. You could, it could happen to us too. So I would say that that was the beginning of, um, something more serious with God. And I was in, I would say, high school at the time,
Okay.
but it wouldn't be till much later. When I started working, that was when I actually got serious about it, and I would say God put the right people into my life as well. So that was when I think I started experiencing things for myself. Um, you know, Reading the Bible. I've always been fascinated by stories. I think I just wanted to share that even when I was in school, I loved literature. And we had a story by Shakespeare, Merchant of Venice.
Okay.
I don't know if you like Shakespeare,
Yeah.
but um, he had, yeah, it's I don't know, you can't ignore him, whatever you say about his stories. So there were a lot of biblical references, in that story, and that that kind of, I don't know, it just captivated me.
Okay.
There were stories about the New Testament and the Old Testament as well. And when I when I was exposed to Jesus's character, I liked that. He called a spade a spade.
Yeah.
He wasn't afraid to voice his opinions. Um, I just loved his character because I think in high school we go through so many things. People get bullied, etc., and then people are trying to join the in crowd. But
Everybody
with
wants to be
Jesus,
it. Yeah.
yeah, with Jesus, I thought he was way above all of that. So I was interested, in him in his life way back then. But I'm glad it's been a good journey, and I've learned so much more since then. So
So you gave your life to Christ in high school.
I would say it started then, but um, I was baptized around like 10 years ago. So when I
Okay.
started working,
Okay. Okay. So kind of
so it's
sort of
it's
like
been a journey.
yeah, it has. It has. And it hasn't been an easy one. And even now as we're starting this, there's still things that we're both, going through and but we're just taking a leap of faith and just
Yeah,
doing it. Um, so yeah, thank you for sharing that. That was amazing.
yeah.
So when it comes to Shakespeare, to be honest, I haven't really read a lot of Shakespeare literature.
Mhm.
But it's interesting that you brought that up because of again in our conversations, um, if you look at a lot of like Disney movies or like even some movies in general, believe
Mhm.
it or not, even though they may not know, some of the stuff is inspired by the Bible. Like I'll give you an example. So if you look at Pinocchio, when he's swallowed by the whale, right?
Yes,
That's kind of inspired in a way by the book of
Jonah.
Jonah and what
Mm.
he went. So it's just interesting how you see these movies and stuff, and they have some biblical content in there. But unfortunately, you know, it's not. I don't know. I guess it's not. It's not. They make it seem like a fantasy, or like it didn't. I don't know. It's just weird how it's used. Yet it's some of the stuff is so like dark and demonic sometimes. But it's interesting that you brought that up because that's something that so one of the ways that so just like you when you were little, you were very curious. God always had his, I would say, his hand and his finger on me.
Mm-hmm.
My journey, I was thinking about that yesterday. Like my journey with God, literally, it really started when I was small as well, just like you. I grew up as a Catholic. You know how
Mm-hmm.
people say Catholic, like you do your communion, you get baptized, all of that. But it really wasn't like a strict household where I went like every Sunday to church or anything like that.
Mm-hmm.
It was kind of like when someone passed away, or you know, like on Easter, stuff like that. It wasn't strict. But of course, growing up, you do have influence of that religious spirit and mindset where you look at God, or people tell you, oh, if you took something bad, God is gonna
Mm.
strike you, or God is always like
Yeah.
the mean dad.
Yeah.
Um, and I do have to say that even though until this day, like 9.5 years in, my relationship with God has grown a lot, but there's still areas in my life where I still have trust issues and I still don't fully let him in because of other things that have happened in my life, which we will share in other episodes. But so yeah, so okay, so then like I said, like God has always been working in me since I was small. So he used a lot of things to really teach me what we call the prophetic and like
Mm-hmm.
the gifting and stuff like that. And I was always into those things of like what the world calls like magic and stuff like that, but really is the supernatural power of God.
Mm-hmm.
But it's interesting how God can take like secular things and still teach you, you know.
Mm.
Um so he talks to me a lot through music, movies. I'm not really a big movie person. I'm more like music and stuff.
Mm.
But God can talk to you in so many ways. Even people that are not
That
believers, that God can still talk. Like
that's
He's
true.
not in a
Yeah.
box. So, but so 9 years ago, um, I was going through a really, really tough time. Like with family, with myself, and I remember one day I was um just in a really, really like dark, cold, just space, and I was just always really like sad and depressed. There was so many things that were going on in my life. Um and one day I was just like talking to myself, and I'm like, God, like if you're real, like I really need you to show up because I'm really going through it. And can you believe like the next day I had someone that I grew up in the same building as her. She's a little older than me. She was a 7 day Adventist, and she sent me a message through Facebook Messenger, and she said, "Hey, I was in a prayer meeting, and I kept on seeing your face, and I felt really, really
Wow.
sad, and I just want to know, are you okay?" And I remember saying, "No, I'm not. I'm not okay." And she said, "Can we go out to dinner, to lunch, just to catch up and see?" And we did. She took me out. We went to this amazing Thai place.
Mm-hmm.
And she said, "Hey, I don't want you to think I'm crazy, but I was praying, and it was the Holy Spirit." And can you believe, like, even though I did not grow up in the church, I understood everything she said. Why? Because God has been preparing me, has been working with me since I was a very young child. So um, I was very knowledgeable, I would say, about the spiritual, like prophetic, even though I didn't. It's interesting how you don't know, but you know, but you don't know,
I
but you
know.
still know,
Yeah.
kind of thing. So, so yeah, so then after that, I started going to church, and that church was a good church. It was a Spanish church. I learned a lot. Of course, in church we see a lot of things that we don't like. But I still took that opportunity because I was so hungry for Christ. That it was a school for me. I was able to grow a lot more spiritually. My faith grew a lot more. And there's still has been challenges because I mean that's one thing that's promised. You're always gonna have challenges in this life. So, but if you have Jesus and you know you have him and you know he has your back, you're gonna be fine. But that's kind of where my story started with my walk in Christ. So it was, I want to say 2012.
Mhm.
I want to say that like I think it was like May 2012. So it's been 9 years. Nine? Yeah, 9 years. So that's how my journey has started in the narrow path, like we say.
um, I love that.
Yeah,
I love that, each of us has a beautiful story, and then we find connections with the stories in the Bible.
yeah,
So
yeah. So
that's
what's your
awesome.
favorite story in the Bible?
I don't know if I have a favorite story. I like so many of them. Um, but in terms of, different characters, I love Paul the Apostle. I just love the way he writes. He's
Yeah,
written things from his heart, from his hardships. And so many times when I'm going through something, I can go through that, and I just feel so comforted. You know,
yeah, yeah,
I can't explain it, but um, I've really, really loved his letters and all that. In the Old Testament, like you and I were discussing, I think there are so many wonderful,
amazing
rich,
story.
variety of stories. And I also wanted to say, you know, I I think everyone, most people have heard of something like a Game of Thrones, right? And
Yeah,
I think that became so popular because everyone likes that. You like having, watching a king, and you have kingdoms, and then people stand for something, the fight of good over evil, etc. And it's so interesting. During that time, I was in the book of, I think, First Kings, Second Kings,
mm,
and I said, wow, everything is here. I
yeah,
mean, it's got all the adventure, there's all the action. um, I loved those those stories.
yeah,
The lives of the kings, the battles that they fought, and it was amazing. Some of those battles, it's unbelievable, right?
yeah,
The way God gave them the victory. So yeah, those
yeah.
were some of the things, which I enjoyed.
Yeah. It's
Yeah.
interesting that you say that. I never got into the Game of Thrones. I know that there was um kind of like this debate in the school that I was going to because some people watched it and other
Mm,
people thought it was like very pornographic and stuff like that.
yeah.
And I did get to watch like a little clip on YouTube because a lot of the stuff is censored because it's very explicit and just
Yeah.
very, graphic and stuff.
Yeah.
And I saw it and it wasn't for me, but I see your point because a lot of people think that these things didn't go on in those times and it did.
Yeah.
A lot of like crazy, not so
Yeah.
nice things were going on, like sex, a lot of like sexual
Yeah.
immorality, homosexuality, like all these things were going on in those times. A lot of fighting, a lot of blood being shed, a lot of power. So, with that being said, I mean, it is. If you read the Bible, um, there was a lot of ugly stuff that happened in the Bible. Like people were doing some wicked, wicked things.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that's something that people need to like read and be aware of. I mean, I know a lot of people say, "Oh my God, we're living in the worst times and this and that," and I'm like, "Have you
Yeah.
read the Bible? Like,
Yeah.
there's some intense stuff in there, okay?" So, I like kids sacrificing, and that you see that
Yeah,
now,
and
with like
some
the
of them,
villages and
like,
stuff.
yeah, they had to, I don't know, eat their kids or something, because of
Yeah,
the famine. So yeah, I'm just
yeah.
grateful that, we were not there.
Yeah, and it does happen in parts of the world, just because we don't hear it doesn't mean that it doesn't happen.
Yeah.
But with that being said, though, I want to say that in this world, we were talking about this the other day, where you listen to the news, and the news is I set up just to give you bad news. And I was telling you, like, in this world with so many billions and billions of people, like, there has to be good news out there. Like, there is. Like, I know that there's good news that outweighs the bad news. But the way this system is set up is just to keep you in fear. And remember, God says that we don't have a spirit of fear. So, yeah, that's interesting. I love that you brought that up. But yeah, I love the Old Testament.
Mm,
I just
I know.
I love the Old Testament. I love the new one. Don't get me wrong. Um, well, there's something about the Old Testament that I'm always gravitated to just to read it. Like, God has me in Isaiah right now. I haven't read it for a couple weeks. I've been busy doing a lot of stuff, but that should be my priority. But He has me in that book, and I used to shy away from it, or maybe was like afraid of it because it is a
Because
very,
it's so big too.
yeah,
It
it
is
is a big
huge.
book. Yeah, but also because I don't know. I guess because of the things that like Judah and Israel were going through, and all these things is like, oh, I don't want to read that, like all that bad news, and Syria taking over this and that. But like, even in the exile and stuff like that, like, and I know that's not like good, like for your own people to be like in exile in those times, but I just been brought to tears. Just like, I remember we were talking about this the other day, and there was I don't remember the chapter that I was on, but how God loved David so much, that He said, because of my faithful servant David. If I could write, I'm gonna find it and put it in the description bar. But like God loved David, like even after David was no longer on earth, and like he loved David because had David loved him. Like, even no matter how many times like David messed up, like he had this heart of repentance and a worship and just wanting to always please God, and I just love, like, that really brought me to tears. Just reading that small little verse that says, just because David was my servant, like, I'm gonna free you guys because of David. David wasn't even alive when that happened. It was a whole different king. So yeah, that I love the Old Testament. I love it. I love it. I love it. I love it. I love it.
No, I think that's so amazing because I personally have been stumped with some of the books in the Old Testament.
Yeah.
So
Some
it's
of them can be
amazing
like
how
that.
God has, paired us up,
Yeah,
you
no,
know.
there's don't get me wrong. There's some books that I'm still like Job is one of those. I'm like, Lord, I don't know if I could read this because this is intense. Another book that's really good, and I haven't read all the books like that in
Mhm.
the Old Testament. Like, I'll skim through them, and but like I said, is the book, but is the story, is the people behind. Like, we were talking about this, I think last week, and I love the story of David. I just
Mhm.
love the story of David, and I love the story of Joseph. So those are two stories. Like, when I think of the Old Testament, I think of these stories. Like the
Mm.
story of David, the story of Joseph, the story of Samuel. Like, who doesn't love that story of Samuel? So for me, it's like these stories, and of course, the New Testament has those, but there's just a richness in the Old Testament that I love, that I tend to go back to it to read it a lot. So yeah, but Job is one of those books that I'm still like, I'm not there yet, not there yet. And then Ezekiel, I've read. Ezekiel's another big book, but I read that. I've started reading that so many times, and I stopped because it's intense,
It is.
very intense. And you know, prophetic people, we wanna like know everything how it looks, and
Hmm.
you read it, and like you're trying to make sense of it, but
Hmm.
it's still it's you have you ever seen like those little
The Rubik cubes.
yeah. Well, that's
Yeah.
how my brain feels when I'm reading Ezekiel. Like I'm trying to figure it out. Like he said, he saw this angel that had this face and that face and that face, and you're trying to like puzzle, like, but how can it be? But it's in the Bible, so you know. So it's just so many. So it's just like my head starts spinning. I'm like, oh no, I gotta put it down. I just can't right now.
No, I think that's awesome, and you bring up an interesting point that if you look at so many of the the stories and the classics, even in the secular world that people
Yeah,
enjoy, and it's still being in circulation, are those which have a sense of mystery about them. It
yeah,
takes some effort on the reader's part to go in and figure things out when they are a
yeah,
part of the story, right?
yes, yes,
And I think that's how I see these stories as well, because I think so many of us, we might possibly read the Bible from end to end, cover to cover, and that's it, and lay it aside.
and that's it. And that's
But
it. There's no
you
connection.
know yeah, yeah, but it's more about, I think, pulling things apart
Yeah,
and kind of going after that mystery. I don't know
yeah,
about you, but I have always loved mystery,
me too.
mystery and adventure. And
Yeah,
this is like going on that adventure because it's not, everything is not spelled out for you, but
no,
as you go in deeper, it's like peeling the layers of the onion, and that's
yeah,
what's exciting. So,
yeah. It is.
yeah.
It's very exciting. Um, So what do you like? So what's next for you? Like, what are the? So I know, like, of course, like I know you and you, I know what you are embarking on. But for other people that are watching, um, what do you like? What do you feel the Lord is calling you to do?
What do I like? Um, I really like helping people, getting to know people. I used to be very shy, just quite introverted before. But I think once I started, just spending time with God, I just started, liking people as well, more than I used to before. And thank God he brings, the right people, good people into your life at the right time. I mean, even just having you with me, right, as a friend, I think I've prayed for so many years for
Yeah,
for the
I
right
have
people.
to.
And yeah, and I do want to encourage, people that God God really answers those prayers.
Yeah,
You do get to
so
meet wonderful people.
we
Yeah.
do, and like, and talking about meeting, so Pearl and I met in a small church in New York. And she was out here in the United States for work, right? You were here on a
Mhm,
work visa for some
mhm.
time. Um, so how long before we met were you in New York? 'Cause we
Um,
met in the year 2000.
2019, wasn't it? It's not
We
been
met?
that long. Yes,
No,
2019.
no, we met way before that because I went to that church coming back from Reading, and that was 2017. So we met.
I
Um,
don't, I,
It wasn't a year before the pandemic. It was like 2018 maybe. Cause
perhaps.
I came back from Reading. Um, Actually, I think we met 2017 because I came back from Reading September 2017, and I was still kind of like thinking about staying in my old church in Queens, and I wasn't feeling it, and I felt the Lord was like, okay, I'm gonna like open that
Mm.
door for you to go to this new church. Um, and I started working. So no, we met 2018 because I was in my old job.
It could be, but definitely before the pandemic.
Yeah, way before the pandemic.
Yeah, way
Yeah.
before that. Way before that.
Yeah. So we met through who?
I remember, I think, just seeing you at um, the church in New York,
Yeah,
and
because it's
then
a really, really small church. It's like it's in the
you were
base.
there.
Yeah.
Yes, yes. And I noticed you because you were doing so well at, I think, one of the prophetic sessions,
Oh, okay, 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 okay.
and I said, "Wow, this girl is going places," you know. Um, so I was very impressed. And then I think we met at a conference in Midtown, I would say.
Yeah, that was September. I think that same year.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I think
but we
same
we were
year.
seeing each other in church though. Like we would see each other
Yes.
whenever, yeah, whenever they had events and stuff. You were there, I were there. So yeah, we just connected through church, and it was nice. And I remember you spoke to me about like being from India, and then what you were doing about like helping out businesses and stuff like that. You were doing that. So that's how we connected through church. So church is important, people. Go to church.
You do get to meet nice people.
You do, you do, you do. You get to meet a lot of nice people. Um, of course, not everybody. We all go through
We
stuff,
all, yeah.
but definitely, sometimes God will put you like on this journey, um, and you don't understand why. Like, I still don't understand why I went to Reading. Like, yeah, I learned so much. Um, but still, like, I don't like he'll reveal those things later on in life,
Mm,
because I'm pretty sure there's a lot. I made a lot of connections in Reading. Um,
that's amazing.
and when I mean Reading, I'm talking about like I went to Bethel Church. I was there for about 8 months, and it was a great experience. Don't get me wrong, but I guess we always want the experience to be like perfect. Um, and God sometimes will ask you to do some really tough things that is
I think a
very
lot of
outside of your
times,
comfort zone.
a lot of times I have
So,
experienced that.
oh my
Yeah.
gosh, only God knows. But and even after I came
Like this
back,
video, right?
yeah, like even after I came back, there were things that God asked me to do and I did. And even before leaving, there was things that God asked me to do and I did. Um, and I still haven't seen anything from that. But I know that later on in life, I will see the why he asked me. So has that
So
ever
the
happened to
seed
you?
was sown.
Yes, there definitely seeds were sown. But I haven't seen the fruit of those yet. So yeah, I guess we'll see later on. I know that he has told me that those seeds were sown, and there's certain things that take time. So, but yeah, like I know, I'm pretty sure God has asked you to do things, and you were like, oh, no, I don't want to do that, and you still did it.
I know, like even being here right now, making this video, I would never have thought that
Let
I
me
would
tell you,
do
girl,
this.
we are
Like,
natural at this, okay?
I think it's because, we are just enjoying the conversation, and
Yeah, we're
then yeah.
we're literally bringing our conversations every Sunday to the screen. So
Yeah, we didn't prepare anything, right? We
no, just
just
being
here
led.
we showed up and we just talking like we usually do.
Yeah,
So
for hours. So what is the one of the most difficult things that God asked you to do? And you were like, oh,
Oh my. Um, I think, taking certain steps at work, right? Um, Giving those presentations in the initial days,
yeah, that's scary.
I had no idea what to say, I had no idea what I was, you know, doing at that time. But I think as I stepped out, even though I was possibly shaking inside, I found that I enjoyed certain things.
Okay. Okay.
And over the years, it's made me more confident. I and I like it. I like not being afraid of something. So
Yeah.
when that fear goes away, I think you feel so much better.
Okay.
So I
I
would
like
say,
that.
it's small things because I was afraid of a lot of things. Like I I hadn't even learned to drive, because I was afraid. What if I get into an accident?
Yeah. Yeah.
I was afraid of animals. I was afraid of dogs and cats. And, I used to run away from them. But thank God, he's taken those fears away.
Amen.
So now I can be around dogs and cats. I even like them. So, it's, yeah. So I like myself now.
Good. I like that. I like that.
Yeah.
Um, so hold up, let me ask you a question. So it wasn't scary for you to like leave India and come to a whole different country? Have you been here before? Were you in the US before like moving here? Because you were here for a couple years.
I was there for some time, but the first time I went, you know, I didn't know anyone. I, I've, oops,
Oh, we're still here.
still here. That's okay. It all the glitches and with technology just makes it more real. Just like a meeting
Mhm.
at work, you have half the time you have people just checking in and saying, "Can you hear me?" So
Can you hear me now? Can you hear me
it's just hilarious. But yeah, I had no idea. But and I think at that time I didn't even have like a smartphone. I just printed the office location on Google Maps, and then I took it with me. And I had never stayed by myself before, so it was a huge leap of faith.
So that
And
wasn't scary to you?
it was a bit, and especially I think whenever you go to a new country, the first few days you're like, I don't know what's going on. Like, okay, this is the
I would be
subway, this and
terrified.
the trains in New York, right? Figuring,
I'm a New
I tell
Yorker and
you,
I'm scared of trains.
there were so many times I got onto the wrong train, right?
Mm.
And then I was just riding the trains. So
Yeah,
yeah.
that I mean, I have to give it to you. That's very, very bold. Like I've always dreamt of like moving out of state. I lived in California twice. Both
Mhm.
times, one time for school, I went out there for fashion, and then the second time, and I was there for a year, and then the second time was in Reading. And I was there for 8 months, and that's scary. Like leaving your comfort zone and the people that you
Yeah.
know, like the city that you know, and going somewhere else. And imagine it's still within your country. So I can just imagine leaving a whole country and coming to another
Mhm.
one that you don't. I mean, that's very bold and courageous. And I think about it in my mind, like I would love to move here. I love to. I mean, I've moved so many places and so many countries in my mind. But I mean, that's bold. I don't know if I mean I don't know if I will do it by myself, but you came here by
Mhm.
yourself. Um, in my mind, I'm by myself, but I know that like leaving another like my country to go somewhere else by myself, I don't think I can do that.
Mhm.
Like even when I mean I haven't been to the Dominican Republic in like 12 years, but like even moving to the Dominican Republic is kind of scary because I've never lived there. I mean, I used to go there as a child, the summers and stuff, because my family's from there. But as far as to like to move there, especially now that I have like 12 years without going, that's no. So I listen, my hat goes off to you. That's very bold and
Thank you.
courageous
Thank you. Thank
to
you.
leave your country. And not only your country, but you're like on the other side of the world,
Hmm.
and then to come to a completely different country where you don't know one. So that speaks a lot of, the boldness, your boldness, and like you are a lot more courageous than you think you are, because that's
Thank you.
very, very brave of you. So,
Thank you. I was I was also looking for adventure. I mean, I think I'm always, wanting to try something new,
hmm
going on an adventure. And I just find that exciting. Meeting new people, love that, people from different cultures,
yeah,
just love that. So, yeah, it's
that's
it's it's great to kind of, I think when you experience life and also certain things, like you said, certain stories that you like, you kind of understand yourself better,
yes,
your own personality, what you
that's very
like,
true.
and what you should be doing in
That's
life as
very
well.
true. That's very
So
true.
yeah,
Very true.
thanks for calling that out.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And that, you know what? That's very, very true. Um, Again, going back to the Bible, this is Conversations with God, so we are going to be talking about the Bible a whole lot. Um, but that's so true. What you just said there, because if you like think about certain like people in the Bible that you tend to like gravitate towards to a lot, and like there's something about their story that always like captivates you. I feel like that's God letting you know, like, hey, this is like an anointing that you have. Like, this is I'm calling you into something like this. It may not be like the same thing because
Yeah.
we're different people,
Mm-hmm.
but there's also giftings that you might have that, like for me, like the story of Joseph. And I want to say more the person of Joseph. Like his story, I really love his story. But just Joseph as a person, I love Joseph as a person because he's a dreamer and I am a
Mm,
dreamer. 100%. I'm a daydreamer, a night dreamer, a midnight dreamer, a
love it.
afternoon dreamer. I'm
Love
just
it.
always in the clouds, always. So I tend to always um feel for him. And it's funny because and I know we'll get into this in other episodes because we'll get into like teachings and stuff like that. But we always talk about this, how how Joseph was, well, some people when they do like a teaching on Joseph and the whole situation that happened about the dream that he had that kind of made his brothers very angry. Some people, kind of interpret that like he was like a spoiled brat, or maybe he was just talking too much. Um, for me, I think about it as the way that I interpret that, and the reason that he probably told his brothers the dream. Maybe it wasn't because he was a spoiled brat, or maybe he did talk a lot. Sometimes when we feel rejected, we try to look for something to try to get, you know, maybe the person's love or attention, and maybe that could have been the situation with Joseph. Maybe he was just telling his brothers that dream to maybe get something out of them. Maybe he just, because he did feel rejected by his brothers. His brothers did not like him because he was Jacob's
Yeah.
favorite. So maybe it was just a way of just wanting to connect in some way with his brothers.
Yeah.
So but I just love his story because he was such a huge dreamer. And then with David, I love his worshiping heart. Like David was all about, like, if God said this, like he just went for it. And I just love that warrior spirit that he had. So yeah. So
No,
I tend to
that
go back
that is
there.
awesome.
Yeah.
And I'm sure we'll have, people around us who just love Job,
Yeah.
you
Oh
know.
my gosh. Yeah. I
So
mean,
so I love there are different personalities.
yeah, yeah. And we also spoke about that. We spoke about Job as well. I remember we were talking about that. Like people always like, well, his wife didn't have this and she didn't have faith and this and that. And we remember we were saying, but she lost the same things that Job did. Like she lost her children, and not only
She
did she
did.
lose her children, but this is a woman that she gave birth to these children.
Mm,
Like I could imagine the pain that that woman was feeling, and just the anguish, and how many times have we gone through things in life and we say things we're not supposed to because we're saying it from a place of anger and
yeah.
just hurt and stuff. So
No, I
yeah,
think that's a very good call out, and we'll definitely discuss that more in our
yeah,
future videos.
yeah.
So
So but I'm excited. I'm excited for this new journey that we're embarking in. I'm excited for what God's gonna do with conversations with God. I'm excited for the growth. Um I'm excited for like the revelations that we're gonna get as we continue to read the Word of God. And just listen, I just want to say, although we are started, we have started conversations with God, and it is about like the Bible and anything that has to do with God and our calling. We're not perfect. We're human. There's times
yeah,
where we don't read our word. There's times where we don't pray. At least for me, I'm speaking for myself. Um, but that's something that we're working on. You know, so no judgment. This is a no judgment, no condemnation.
definitely.
So but that doesn't mean that God doesn't speak to you on a daily basis. That doesn't mean that you don't speak to God on a daily basis. So, it's we're working towards that every day. So, any final thoughts?
And this will keep us committed as well. So
Yes.
that's a
Yes,
good thing.
absolutely. And I can't wait when we start like we're gonna post this on YouTube and stuff. Just to see like the reaction and the feedback from people. That's gonna be interesting and fun just to be able to connect with people. I'm excited to see like people from like different parts of the world. And it's so fun how the internet can connect you and I, and we're talking about something that, talking about God. So the internet is not always evil. We could use it for good, people. So,
Yes.
and
Yes.
that's awesome how we're in two different parts of the world, and we're doing this together.
I know. I know. So in this way, we are actually using social media to be social, right?
Yes, yes, yes,
So
yes, absolutely. Yes, we are to be social and to also just spread the love of God as well. And I think our mission with this is just to again storytelling and falling in love with our first love, which is God. And it's gonna be interesting. There's gonna be things that we're gonna let go, and things that God's gonna heal in this. So it's gonna be a very exciting journey. So yeah. So any final thoughts, Miss Pearl?
I think you covered most of it. As always, you know, thoroughly enjoy our conversations. I think, I'm looking forward to collaborating and
Yeah,
hearing from people. I
yeah.
think it should be fun.
What's your
Yep.
vision for conversations with God?
Um, I enjoy good conversations. I think it just has such a fuzzy feeling.
Um,
And even when I've had a bad day, when I'm going through stuff because life happens, a good conversation with a good friend has always perked me up, you
yeah,
know. And conversations with God, I think it's just, yeah, that's why it's a conversation, because we can go to him anytime. And he's the first person that we are encouraged to go to, because so many times I've gone everywhere else,
Yeah.
and then I'm so confused. But I think this is why it's so important. And I definitely know that for myself, I'm going to grow so much in this area of having those, conversations with him.
Absolutely.
Um, and I just want to appreciate, your mentorship, your
Oh,
guidance
thank
along the
you.
way.
Same as
It's
here. Same
it's
here.
um, it's very precious, because all of us need those mentors, and people who come alongside you and encourage you,
Yeah.
and you've always been that to me. So
Thank you.
um
Thank you.
yeah, just I think that's the spirit that um I would like to continue bringing to this channel as well.
Amen.
So
Amen to that. Amen to that. Thank you for that. And I will say, like, for you, you have such a gentle like spirit. Um, it's just so peaceful. Like I love talking to you because you like hear me out and you're really listening to what I'm saying and you give great advice. You give great
thank
advice and
you.
yeah, you do. You give really good advice, and it's just your gentleness. I love that about you. How you are so like gentle in your words, and you like your spirit is just so pure and so I don't know, like so calming. And I love that. And just cause she's calming and stuff, don't mean that she ain't got that fire in her. Okay, just to let y'all know.
I know my team at work would attest to that. So
Yes, she got that fire. But no, I just love that we're doing this together as a team, as a sister in Christhood. Um, I don't know. I'm excited. I'm excited for what God wants. I know that we're just starting this, and because we're in two different parts of the world and our schedules are different, and there's other things that we're doing. We're still trying to figure out how we're gonna like get together. I mean, I know we get together on Sundays, but I know that we're also called to go back to church, and that's something that I want to do. But I think just figuring out our schedule and what works for both of us, and just getting together and having these conversations. I know that we're still figuring that out. But I know once we get the rhythm of things, um, I feel like there's gonna be like a fast. There's gonna be like an acceleration for both of our lives and things that we want to do. So I'm excited for that. Um, I don't know. I'm just really excited. I'm just very, very excited that we're doing this. And I feel like God knows what He was doing when He put us together. Um, because I have I want to say an acquaintance. Um, I tend to call a lot of people friends, but some people are not always friends. But you're definitely a friend and a sister that I can count on,
thank
and
you.
vice versa, and vice
Thank
versa.
you.
But I remember having this conversation with someone, and I don't know, I always felt like she was kind of like iffy about it, like, oh, I don't know. And I never pushed it. And one day we were talking, and we were like, hey, we should do this. And God knows what He was doing because there's something about being just I don't want to say that I'm like a saint or anything like that, but we're pure in heart. Like we really just we want to go after what God wants and for us, and I think we're like we are in the same accord, if that makes sense. So I'm excited. Like I'm really excited to be doing this with you. Um, like God couldn't have chosen anybody better. Like I'm very excited to do
Oh,
this with you. So
that
um,
that that is such an honor. Thank
and you
you
know what it
so
is?
much.
There's no arrogance from you. There's no, this, like, if you like, once you get to know Pearl, the way that I have, like, you'll see, like, she's so just, like, so humble, so pure in heart. Like, there's no
Oh,
arrogance that comes out of her. There really isn't. There's just a lot of gentleness and a very mothering and comforting person. So I'm very, very, I feel very blessed to be doing this with you, to be honest. And I'm not saying it just to say it. I feel very, very blessed. I feel even like very protected that I'm doing this with you and that we are doing this together. Um so yeah, those are, and I don't know. I feel like God has a lot in store for us. I just don't know. I mean, I don't know.
that is the exciting part. I mean,
But it's also like the
it will be
frustrating part
fun
for
if
me because I really need to know.
you
I think that's the prophetic in me. Like, I need to know. I need to. I know I saw that guy, but so I don't know. I don't know. And I think, you know what? Even though that is kind of like the frustrating part for me, even though as a very strong prophetic person, I've been living like this for the past couple months where it's just like I have an I don't know kind of mentality. I don't want to start like picturing, or I don't know, like fantasizing about stuff, and I'm thinking God is saying this and he really isn't. I'm just gonna let him do what he's best at doing. Just being
Hmm.
God and being creative and just making it work. So that's just my mentality. I don't know. Let him do it. So
No,
even though I
I
really want
yeah.
him to. So
I think you can relax and
yeah,
enjoy,
and just let him
yourself a
work,
little. Yeah,
Yeah, just let him work. That's it. So
that
yeah,
is. All
yeah.
right, we
An hour
very
in, look
live
at
for
that.
an
We can go for another 2 hours, but we're not going to. But
hour.
so what? So any final thoughts before we close out? Like any prayer or anything you wanna say to our audience, or
I just want to thank everyone for their time. I hope this was useful. Um, I know we spoke a lot about us, but
Mhm.
I feel like I've always learned from people's journeys. I love
Yeah.
hearing about
Oh
people's
yeah, me
testimonies,
too. Me too.
especially when they've spent some time
Yeah.
with Christ, with the Bible, because there are ups and downs. Initially, one could be really high, really excited, and then it could dip. So, like the consistency,
Just like David.
that's helped me. Yeah, yeah, yeah. So I just hope everyone also enjoys our conversations. Would like to join in. I mean, you know, we are. I think we stand for friendship, and
Mhm.
what maybe hopefully model what good friendship should look like, and all of us need to have good friends.
Yeah, we do.
So as we go through this journey um, with people, I think we'd also, I think that's my prayer for everyone, that they'll find that friendship with God, as well as good genuine friends in their lives.
Yes. People that want to see you win, and people that are not jealous or feel
Yeah, yeah,
competition or anything like that. There's no need for that.
yeah.
There's no need for that. I know we've been an hour in and we're almost closing out, but I feel like I need to share this. I know this has to do with conversations of God, and I know you spoke about like friendship and helping people out. One of the, and about like stories and stuff. One of the things that I absolutely love, and before we close out, I think we should touch on this before we
Mm,
close. Um, so one of the things, like, what do you feel you not only want to change in your life, but what do you feel that you are called for on this earth. Like I know we're starting these conversations with God, and it's, to be inspired and to like connect again with our first love, which is God. Um, and of course, He's involved in everything that we do. Um, but what do you think that you are like truly and honestly called for? And it's fine if you don't know like the whole answer, because I don't think we know everything, and even though we want to know, but we don't know everything. But like I'll tell you a little bit about what I feel, that maybe like a snippet of what I feel, like a little part. One of the things that I is one of the most difficult things, but I really do have a passion to see families whole. And what I mean by that is I feel like the family has been so attacked by the enemy and by, just the world, and us not being, connected like we should be with God, and just hold on to Him. I don't have any children yet, but I know one of the things that I have promised myself and that I have kind of vowed, and is that I want my family and my house, my home, to be a safe haven for my children and my
Mm,
husband and myself. Once, sorry.
bless
Um,
you.
and my dream, thank you. And my dream is to see, the families whole again.
Mm,
Your family is your first ministry. No matter what you do, family is your first ministry. And that is I think the utmost representation of God and the kingdom is your family. Of course, first and foremost is your union with God and Jesus, and then after that your union with your spouse. But your family is like that's your ministry. So I want to see families healthy and whole. And unfortunately I haven't been seeing that, and even in my family there's so much turmoil. But that's one of the things that I'm so, like, my heart aches for, that is to see families restored, not only in the US but in the world. I feel like when you have healthy whole families, the enemy cannot, he just, it's hard for him to just penetrate and to come in and destroy. One of the things that I absolutely love, to hear, and I know that a lot of these stories are sad, but it's like seeing like the background and how things started, and kind of, is, when you hear these stories of people having like addictions, or people that come even from like, abusive homes and stuff like that. Like I love hearing, and I know that it's sad to see what they're going through, but is I want to understand, like, how did they get to that point. Um, and it's never to judge, it's never to condemn. But I want to hear their heart, because they have a story, and their story is different from mine and is different from yours. And their story needs to be heard as well. And as they say those stories, there needs to be healing. So it's learning, and understanding how they got to that point of addiction, or self harm, or whatever it is that they're going through, and hearing from God, and discerning what it is that's attacking them, and
mm,
just going full force against that. And I think that's where the warrior
mm.
David in me comes out. Um, and just helping them through that, and it's not an easy thing. I've had people in my life who have addictions, and I mean my father has battled with alcohol his whole life. It's not easy living with people, that have these, I would say, they are diseases, they're
Yeah.
illnesses. But yeah, like when I see, I don't know, I'm just like that. Like I like to hear the backstory to things. So enough about that. Like I want to know, like, what are you, like, what's your passion? Like what are the things that you see in the world and you're like, this is wrong, like this needs to change, and I'm gonna be the pioneer in that. Like what is it?
You know, I loved it when you talked about families. I feel a lot about that as well, because I think there's so much of strife these days in families, and it affects everyone.
Everyone,
everyone
everyone.
in that family, and the choices that people make, it's possibly because of something that has happened in their childhood, right?
Yes,
So
yes,
I think that's
100%.
so important.
100%.
um, yeah, healthy marriages, that's my heart is for that as well. It's so important because people go through so much in that area. And I think also orphans,
Yeah,
because I've had like wonderful parents. I can't even imagine what it's
yeah,
like to not have that protection, around you.
yeah,
So yeah, those um, who can't, I think, speak for themselves or stand up for themselves,
yeah,
in society.
yeah,
Um, yeah, I've I've always felt for them. And
yeah,
when you said stories, I'm always interested in documentaries, you know, from every country, and then
yeah,
I have this strong urge to pray for them,
yeah,
to help them. So yeah, yeah. I mean, I'm still kind of, it's a journey understanding exactly what my purpose is, but these are some of the things that I really, you
yeah,
know,
yeah,
feel for. So
yeah. What are the things that make you like angry? And not a angry like I'm gonna punch somebody in the face or like, but kind of like this, I don't know, like godly anger was just like, no, like for me, it's seeing injustice, whether it's in like the
injustice,
workplace
that's
or
correct.
in, I just don't like it. And I know one of the things that we were talking about is that there's just, especially in the United States, there's just so many things that are going on, so many different sides, and I feel like people are, I feel like there's like an extreme like spirit that's, I don't know, like this is aside of like a spirit of division and all these other things. There's like, I feel like there's like extremes, there's not, there's no middle ground. And I don't like injustice. Um
Yeah,
and I think I don't like injustice, but we also need justice, if that makes sense. But I don't like when people in authority abuse their authority. Even in
yeah,
the church, I don't like seeing when, and this is no attack on leaders or pastors or anything like that, but I think we need to be held accountable if you are a pastor or a leader
yeah,
and you have someone under you that is discipling people, where there is, abuse, whether that's mental or spiritual, whatever it is. I think that that has to be, you know, that has to be brought out, and that has to be, there has to be some type of discipline on that. So I don't like seeing that in the church, especially when you have people that are, because the church is like a hospital for people, so I don't like seeing that. So what are the things that you see in not only in your country but in the world, and it kind of like, it angers you, you're like this is just not right, like what is it?
I think there are so many things. I don't know. I think we'll be here talking for
All
another
day, I know.
hour. Um, yeah, and yeah, we should probably end too. Um, I think a lot of what you said, I would, agree with that. I think even if you look at, certain companies or businesses, right? When you look at these commercials and these ads, certain celebrities endorsing them, perhaps. Some of them are not really good for people. It's not good for your health.
No.
You know, so I prefer using more of natural products, etc. But that's something which I think it's not good for society as a whole. So
Yeah.
in addition to what you said, these are some of the things that I've observed, which I don't think is right. So
It's not.
Yeah.
It's not. But we will continue our conversations with God um in another episode. So I'm excited. Pearl's excited. We're gonna close out because it is 10 o'clock in India.
It is 10:30.
10:30 in India, and it's 1:05 here in New York. So I know that Pearl has to work tomorrow in a couple hours. So we're gonna close out. So I just want to say thank you for everyone that's watching, or for just the one person that's watching. I don't know. We just want to say thank you for giving us your time, and just for hearing us out and getting to know us. And we will be posting um, weekly. We're still trying to figure out our schedule as to how we're gonna record throughout the week, and we're planning on uploading on Sundays. But yeah, so this is the first episode of Conversations with God, and it was getting to know us, Esther and Pearl. So we look forward to meeting you guys, and we look forward to seeing you in our next episode. We don't know what it's going to be about. We're just being led by the Spirit of God, but
Mhm.
we'll be here again. So we want to say thank you, bless you, and we love you, and we cannot wait to meet you guys. So bye, guys. Take
Bye.
care.